Here we go. I will just warn you that one of my strings is popped on the guitar, so I don't know what it's going to sound like on Hanukkah. Oh, Hashem. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Shalom Aleichem to everybody who's going to be watching. Is that Hashem? Currently, I'm the only person here. And not just here, I'm the only person. There's David watching online. I thought I was the only person online as well. Okay, for as long as he sticks around. So, Shalom Aleichem, we're back after Chanukah. Back to learning Chassidut, back to connecting with serving Hashem b'simcha, be'ezat Hashem. I'll say Shalom Aleichem to David, and to Katie, and to Shena Batsheva, and my mother, and Avital, and everybody who watches in the future, be'ezat Hashem. Shalom Aleichem, which is quite a long lesson. It's talking about the pure mamish, disconnected from Facebook. We're talking about the purification of speech and how speech can bring us to a greater understanding of Hashem. We started off with the Kabbalistic verse, which still haven't reached the end of this lesson, so I don't know the meaning of it, about how do you harvest a garden of knives. You do it with the horn of a donkey. This is a conversation of the elders of Athens speaking with Rabbi Yoshua ben Chanina. And then we talked about, if I go back quickly to the beginning here, 1 second. So we started off saying that it's impossible to grasp Hashem except through bringing Hashem down into some type of human consciousness. And in order for us to grasp Hashem in human consciousness, we have to have a rabbi or a teacher that can teach us and explain to us, for example, what Rabbi Nachman is doing. These lessons that we're learning here are essentially Rabbi Nachman bringing down from his supernal wisdom, trying to bring it down in a way that we, on a lower level, can grasp it. Then he brought this Kabbalistic concept of the curly black hair, which in the old days I used to have, I guess I still have, nope, not so much left there, but I do have hair. The curls in the hair are surrounding, going around in circles, and the blackness is describing the hiddenness of Hashem. And so we can only explain Hashem by going in a roundabout way, and by doing it, by trying to reveal the blackness, trying to bring out the light from the darkness. Then we went on to talk about, we gave examples of Shlomo HaMelech, of King Shlomo, and we gave an example of Shmuel HaNavi, and these were two different people in different times. So Shmuel HaNavi, Shmuel the prophet, he would go around and save people the trouble of having to come to the prophet and to pay money to the scribes. And Shalom Aleichem. To Richard. Wow, my cousin Richard. Welcome. He would pay money. He would spread the money around to everyone. Then we had the example of Shlomo HaMelech, of King Shlomo, who in his time there was so much money that even silver wasn't considered money. Silver was like had the worth of a rock. And even in those times, there were people that fell into the temptation of ta'avat. Ta'avat mamon, really, he calls it soneh betza. And that means, so there's no problem with having lots of money, having a desire for having lots of money. It's the desire for money itself. When money becomes a means of its own, an end of its own, and not a means to reach a certain thing, that becomes the problem. Then it starts to block a person's ability to connect with Hashem. And you'll see that people that are chasing after money, they won't be able to grasp Hashem because their obsession is this money. We spent quite a couple lessons, more than a few lessons talking about that. So now we're continuing. We're now on section 5. Hey, Lachar shebi'er, after he explained, Sherabi Gadol Ma'od, that a great rabbi, יכול לצמצם ולהלביש שכל עליון על השגות אלוקות ושכל תחתון. So you need somebody that is able to explain Hashem to you in a way that a person can grasp. And for that, you need a great rabbi. Now, when we say a great rabbi, we don't mean somebody who's famous. We mean somebody who's capable. What makes them great is not their fame, which may be justified or not, but their ability to explain Hashem in the simplest way. And we had the example of Shmuel HaNavi, Shmuel the prophet. How was he bringing down the highest level of understanding Hashem? He was taking himself around to the people. Because Shmuel HaNavi, wherever the capital was at the time that he was here, maybe it was Jerusalem, could have been Jerusalem. He didn't make people come to Jerusalem in order to get a judgment from the prophet. The prophet, of course, who would receive revelations from Hashem. It's kind of like when the baby is born, the baby is in the womb, and the baby comes out, the baby is breastfed, and then after the breastfeeding, the baby is around the mother for a long time. And that's how we were when the Torah was given. So the Torah was given to us on Mount Sinai, and then Moses, who was the ultimate prophet, because he spoke directly with Hashem face to face. After him, we had Yeshua, and after Yeshua, we had other prophets, leading all the way up into the last prophet. And then we still had all kinds of revelation in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple here in Jerusalem, until that was destroyed. And then we still have some level of revelation here in Jerusalem and the Holy Land, but we don't have what we used to have back then. So people were coming to Shmuel HaNavi, Shmuel the prophet, and how was he bringing down godliness to the people? Through action. He was physically taking his body, moving himself around so that people could have access to him without having to spend money and make an effort to come to him. This is really the ultimate level of grasping godliness, that it should turn you into a mensch. If you're really getting Torah and mitzvot, it should make you a better and better and better person. You shouldn't just be better, you should be an optimist and be able to be joyous in doing the mitzvot and in almost every situation that you're in. I would say ultimately every situation that you're in, but not always so easy. Ad shegam aktanim biyoter hamakusharim alav. So he's talking about the great rabbi that's bringing down the supernal intellect of Hashem down to the lower level of intellect, until even the smallest of the small are able to connect with it. Yuchlo lahasigo la'avino, and to understand and grasp what Hashem is trying to give us and to teach us. And he explained, Ki yitachen sheyeh mi sheyesh lo sechel elyon. Could be that there's a person that has this high level of intellect. Ach ein lo sechel tachton, but he doesn't have a lower level of intellect. Meaning, somebody could be on a high intellectual, spiritual level, but he's not able to bring down to the lower people, to the people on the lower level. So a person, for example, who's constantly in an ivory tower of the finest, highest yeshiva, and never went and worked a job, couldn't relate to somebody that has a job, which is why Torah, work and Torah is the ultimate, which is also why, of course, we're in this crazy situation today where there's people who have decided that their work is learning Torah, which I don't think ever existed in all of Jewish history before. But on the most practical level, you have to be involved in the world in order to be able to explain the world, in order to explain Hashem to people on a lower level. שכן התנאי להשגת שכל תחתון הוא לשנוא את הממון בתכלית השנאה. If you really want to reach the highest level of understanding Hashem, and to bring it down to a way that you can explain to people, you have to be disconnected from the desire for money, not from money itself. Have as much money as you want. Rabbi Nachman also says the ultimate level is somebody who has a great deal of money and has a great deal of money and still has emunah on Hashem. And that's the big test of serving Hashem. When you don't have any money, it's kind of simple. It's not fun. It's kind of simple. You just say, Hashem, I don't have any money, so you're going to have to figure out how to pay for the wedding or the electric bill or whatever it is. But imagine you have unlimited amounts of money, billions of dollars. Can you still turn to Hashem? Do you still have the heart to turn to Hashem and say, Hashem, I still need help, even though you have so much money in the bank account? So it's not dependent on the amount of money that you have, it's your connection to the money. And the higher level is when you have a lot of money and you can still turn to Hashem with the faith of a simple person. Ki rak an zocheh lemalchut kedusha. Only when you're on this level do you merit Malchut kedusha. So we're going to talk about Malchut. Of course, Malchut is the lowest of the Sfirot, and you receive it on the highest level. There's also Malchut, the Sitra Achra, Malchut of the negative energy, meaning somebody can be receiving a certain energy from the negative side, or you can receive it from the positive side, from the holy side. The Malchut HaKedusha, sorry, I lost my place here, Sechel Tachton, it's like dash, Sechel Tachton, so you get Malchut HaKedusha, meaning receiving Hashem's light on a holy level, and also being able to bring it down and explaining it to people. Masha'en ken misha nufel la'avat mamon. However, somebody who falls to the desire, the love of money and possessions and materiality, unufel ma'chut sitra achra, he falls into the sovereignty, the kingship of the negative energy. And the person basically gets into a cycle of being stuck in this negative energy. Hefech sechel hatachton hazeh, the opposite of this lower level of intellect where you can explain things on a higher spiritual level to somebody who doesn't understand it. Now he's going to explain that a person that merits this lower level of wisdom tzarich tamid lahamshich lachiyut me'or hapanim, has to constantly draw sustenance into it, into the light of the face. This comes about the joy that we have during the holidays. So that's what we're going to talk about now. The person that has this same wisdom, that merited to have Malchut. I'll just show you the map. I have a map here we use regularly. Malchut, we have the Sfirot. I believe that they're backwards on the screen, but here we have Malchut, okay? Malchut is the lowest of the Sfirot. What is this symbolizing? This is symbolizing the spiritual energy that's coming down from Keter and going down through the different attributes into Malchut. So Malchut is ultimately, it's like the bucket that's receiving the spiritual light that's coming down. And so when somebody has Malchut Kedusha, they're doing a mitzvah and they're receiving a light that's giving them vitality. But somebody has Malchut Sitra Achra, that has from the negative energy, they're simply feeding their desires. So, for example, it could be a drug addiction, alcohol addiction. It could be a buying addiction, a shopping addiction. It could be an experiential addiction, some type of thing that you have to have more and more and more of, and you can't feed it. But when you're getting Malchut to Kedusha, you are basically getting closer and closer and closer to Hashem with every mitzvah that you do. And so it's feeding more and more positive energy. It's a positive cycle as opposed to the negative cycle. So, tzarich lahamshich letocha chiyut. So here we go. We'll go back to the beginning. Mi sheyesh lo oto hachochma. Somebody has this wisdom. Says chala malchut kedusha. They're merited to have malchut on the level of holiness. Sechel tachton, a lower level of intellect, meaning you can explain things to people, you can explain godliness to people. Tzarich lirot lahamshich letocha chiyut. Person has to go out of their way to make sure that they draw down sustenance into that experience. La'achayot chokhmah tata, to bring livelihood into the lower level of wisdom. Meaning that it's not enough for a person to just be able to explain things. A person has to constantly be working on themselves and bringing vitality into it and trying to make themselves joyous from a real, genuine place. Ki bechinat sfirat malchut, because this is the attribute of Malchut. Deleit la migarma klum. It has nothing of its own, and it doesn't have anything. It's poor and destitute and has nothing of its own. Right? And the explanation of that, if you just, I guess I should leave the map out here. If you look at it, all of these sfirot up here, they're all giving energy. This is the only one that's not giving energy. They're all giving. This is the only one that's receiving. So Malchut is poor. It has nothing. And also, it's interesting, it says deleit. And dli is a bucket. So bucket is receiving. It's deleit. It's on the lower, and the impoverished. And so you always have to give sustenance into Malchut, which is on this lowest level. Everybody according to the lower level of wisdom in which they have, meaning every person on their level. Kefi bchinot chokhmata tata chokhma atachtona shebachol olam ve'olam. Okay, so now he's saying that you see we have all the sfirot here. Up here, the top one is Keter. We have 4 worlds. So, even though this isn't the sfirot here, imagine this is the world above it, and the world above it, and the world above it. And so, Hashem's energy is coming down through each of the 4 worlds, and each of the 4 worlds has all of the sfirot, and at the bottom of each world is Malchut, and the Malchut of the world that comes above it is higher than the Keter below it. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about how Hashem sends His energy into this world. This is only a metaphor, of course. We're not capable of understanding something that's beyond our human intellect, but this is how it's explained in Kabbalah, how the spiritual energy comes down from Hashem into some form that can be grasped by some human on a very high spiritual level. Peirush kol ha'olam ve'olam yesh 10 sfirot pratiyot. Just like I said, that every one of the supernal worlds has all these 10 attributes. Sfirat ha'malchut shebo, and the sfira of Malchut, meaning the lowest level, sfira over here, Yisechel Tachton and Manhigoto. This is the called the Sechel Tachton. This is the lower level intellect that guides or leads that world. Kefi ota bchina shel chokhma tata shel haolam shehu hisig. This is just like the supernal, the lower level wisdom of the world above it. So that's what I was saying, that each world as it comes down, it has all these sfirot. And so we have Malchut, I guess, I probably did this once before. You can see the folds in it. We have Malchut coming down into Keter, Keter coming down, and Malchut coming down. And so they're always connecting to Malchut on the lowest level there. Shehi Sechel Tachton Manhigoto, that we read already. כך הוא צריך להמשיך חיות כדי להחיותן. So a person has to also bring down energy for themselves in order to sustain themselves. ועיקר החיות הוא מבחינת אור הפנים. And where does this energy or this light come from? It comes from the light of the face. מבחינת כתוב, as it's written in Mishlei, באור פני מלך חיים. The light of the face of the living God, the living King. הרי בחינת חיים וחיות של ספירת המלכות. That is the life, the energy that's coming into the attribute of Malchut, that's coming down with all the spiritual energy up here, it's coming down into Malchut, which is the lowest level. That's the light of Hashem coming down into us, essentially. Hi nimshechet mi'or panim. Where does this come from? This comes from Hashem's face. Now, a person can read a lot in a person's face. So a person smiles, so you feel like the person's, being nice and giving off good energy. A person's angry, then you feel that they're sad, depressed, whatever it is. A lot of those things you can read in a person's face. So we're getting, in a sense, Hashem's light through His face. That's just what we're calling it. Of course, Hashem doesn't have a face, because we don't really know it. What we're trying to do with this lesson and many of the lessons that we're learning is to get some concept of what Hashem is, even though we really can't understand Hashem. But a little bit, whatever we can. So that means we now have to take this energy that's coming down to us and return it back up to Hashem. And then where does that light shine the most? During the 3 holidays. We have Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Those are the 3 biblical holidays. And when we put our energy into those, we receive the energy back from Hashem. And the reason that Hashem's light shines through these 3 holidays, 3 festivals, ki ikar or panim uba alidei simcha. Because how does Hashem's light come down? It comes down ultimately through joy. Kamo shekatuv has written, Lev sameach yetiv panim. A joyous heart, over here he's got a better translation than me, simchat halev tetiv o hapanim v'zoharo mitzudot. So the joy of the heart is going to be expressed through goodness in the face. Meaning that if a person is happy, you're going to see it on them. It's pretty rare for a person to be genuinely happy and for you to not see it. And so that's why Hashem shines into His festivals this light of the face. V'ikar simcha sheba beragalim hu min hamitzvot shemekayimim otam besimcha. And what is the main light that's coming down during the holidays? It's the joy that we pull out from doing the mitzvot that we keep on those holidays. B'meshech kol hashana, during the whole year. Kamo shekatuv, as is written. So, for example, we're building a sukkah or buying a lulav and etrog when we're preparing for the Seder, and when we're making matzah, and all the things that we're doing, Shavuot, I guess we're learning Torah, we're eating dairy products that not everybody eats. Those holidays bring down this special joy, and you can really feel them, especially here in Jerusalem. For sure you can feel them. Yael, Shalom Aleichem. As it's written, Pikudei Hashem Yisharim Mesamchei Lev, that when we keep the mitzvot of Hashem in a straightforward way, it brings joy to our heart. Mitzvot Hashem hem yesharot umesamchot et halev. They're direct and bring joy to the heart. V'ikar makom hasimcha me'amitzvot ubalev. Where is the main place of the joy of doing the mitzvot? It's in the heart. Right? We don't have the joy of doing the mitzvot in the mind. In the mind, when we grasp a concept, then it gives us joy intellectually. But when we do a mitzvah, we feel the joy in the heart. Kamo shekatuv natata simcha belibi, that I put joy into your heart, or you put joy into my heart. Va'alev shel kol hashana, in the heart of the whole year, hema shalosh regalim. They are the three festivals. B'chinat ele moadei Hashem. Right, that's what we say before we say Kiddush on the holidays. Ele moadei Hashem. And the first letter of Ele is Aleph, the second is Mem, and the last is Yud. Rashi Tevot Imi. That spells out my mother. Kamuva shehi em halevana lebina. That is, what is this mother? It's the mother of understanding. Kiyadua bazara, as is known in the Zohar, Harei Sfirat Bina Nikret Em. Sfira Bina. Let's find it over here. Where is it? Chokhmah Bina. The Sfira Bina over here is called in the Zohar Mother. Em. Zeu Ele Moadei Hashem. That's the meaning of these are the holidays of Hashem, the festivals of Hashem. Shebeshloshet Regalim Meir Ha'or Shel Sfirat Bina. During the three holidays, the three festivals, Hashem shines His light of Bina, of understanding. Umuva b'tikunei Azor, and it's brought in the Tikunei Azor. Bina liba. Bina is the heart. The hainu shesfirata bina. That is the attribute of Bina, of understanding. He keneged alev, is juxtaposed to the heart. Nimtza, it follows, shloshet regalim, that the three festivals, heim ima Bina, they are the attribute of mother and understanding in b'chinat lev. They're connected to the heart. What does that mean? It means that on the holidays we have the ability to connect with Hashem through joy in a way that brings us understanding, but not understanding intellectually, understanding in a heart way. V'asimcha shel kol hamitzvot she'osim b'chol shana, and the joy that we have in doing the mitzvot that we do all year round, hu mitkabetz el alev, it gathers together in the heart. Shehem shalosh regalim, that those are the three holidays, Kanan, three festivals. Shikar simcha ibalev, that the main expression of joy is in the heart. V'yan ken em yemei simcha, and that's why those are days of joy. Kamosh kaduv, as is written, v'samachta v'chagecha, as is written, you should be joyous in your holidays. Right? We know that Shabbos is for oneg, Shabbos is for spiritual pleasure, but the chagim, the holidays, the festivals, they're for joy. And the mitzvah is to be joyous, which is why on the holidays you're supposed to drink wine and eat meat, if those are things that give you joy. I don't drink wine and I don't eat meat, so I do other things that give me joy. And the meat's just kipshuton, is in the simplest way, physical joy, that you should be eating and doing things that give you pleasure. But for example, if we take Sukkot, you're really supposed to hang around the sukkah or other people's sukkahs as much as you can. But in that sukkah, there should be a lot of joy. One of the things that we do every year in Sukkot is we have different special meals that we make every day: pizza, sushi, bagels. A couple of years ago, there was a whole week of Chol Hamoed, so I started adding new things to it, a stir fry, and then I remember what else I made. And it really brings joy because the kids look forward to it, and we invite guests, and we sit down and we eat this delicious meal. And at that moment, so it's not just that you're eating the meal, and you could eat a delicious meal right now, but when you're eating it at that moment, you're connecting with doing the mitzvah of the samachta v'chagecha, that you should be joyous in your festivals, while you're in, for example, a sukkah, which in itself is a mitzvah, and eating the food, which is a mitzvah. K'vi ma she'adam marbe la'asot mitzvot b'simcha kol hashana, כך הוא זוכה לשמוח בשלושת רגלים. On the level that a person does mitzvot, the number of mitzvot that a person does with joy the whole year round, so too a person merits to be joyous during the three holidays, three festivals. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're depressed all the time, you're letting the Yetzer Hara bring you down and make you crazy, which he's trying to make all of us crazy. But it's a matter of whether we let it or not. Then when the holidays come, you're not joyous. But if you can maintain a level of joy all year round, and then the holidays come, it only increases your joy. Ve'az me'ir hapanim al yedei asimcha. And then Hashem shines His light from His face into us because or through the joy. Bibchinot lev sameach yetev panim. This is the quote that we had before, that a joyous heart will bring goodness to the face. Or you can even understand in a different way, you have a joyous heart, it'll bring goodness, panim, inside. Al yidei simcha nimshechet habchina ha'elyona shel or panim. Through joy, we draw down the light of Hashem's face from the supernal place. And then we can take this high level of light of Hashem and bring it down to the level of Malchut, which is of course the lowest of the Sfirot, which means that we can bring it down to a practical way. What we're essentially saying is that a person can reach a very high spiritual place of connecting with Hashem and then be on the level to express it in a physical way, in a healthy, kosher, positive physical way. Bishvil zeh nitztavanu. This is why we were commanded by Hashem, Shalosh pa'amim b'shana yira'eh kol zchorcha et panei Hashem Elokecha. 3 times a year we're supposed to go and bring a sacrifice in the temple. Now people many times go 3 times a year to the Kotel to show your face before Hashem. Bishvil lekabel bebeit hamikdash et abchina alyona shel or panim. That we should receive in the Holy Temple the attribute, the supernal attribute of the light of Hashem's face. Nimta Sherabeinu. Okay, so this is something, I think there's a typo here. Sherabeinu, it says here Shazar, Shisha, or maybe it was Ziha. I don't know what the word is supposed to be there, but I don't think it's Shazar. Sherabeinu identified Shisha Inyanim Kedei Leochiach Shel Or Panim, that Rabbi Nachman clarified, or maybe it's Rabbeinu Shazar. Sorry, maybe I should say, maybe it was Rabbeinu Shazar, that was his name. 6 ideas in order to bring clearer the point of the light of Hashem's face. I think after we read these, we're gonna get close to finishing here. Okay. Ad shehu chiyut, which is the life force, shemitgale beraganim, that comes out during the holidays. Vehem aleph, ikar or panim hu simcha. What is the main expression of the light of Hashem's face? It comes through joy. Bet, ikar simcha hu mekiyuma mitzvot. Where does the highest level of joy come from? It comes from the keeping of the mitzvot. Gimel. Ikar, and I can explain that to you, I'll explain it very quickly. The love that we get from a human being is not the even remotely close to the love that we receive from Hashem. That the only way that we receive the love of Hashem is by doing the mitzvot. So that when we do the mitzvot, we receive this joy that we can only receive by connecting with really our ultimate parent, which is Hashem. Gimel, Ikar makom hasimcha ubalev. The main place of joy is in the heart. Daled, halev shel hashana hu shloshet regalim. What is the heart of the entire year? It's the 3 festivals. Hey, haregalim imchinat ima. The festivals are connected to mother, shehi bina, which is understanding. Vav, abina, hi belev. The understanding is in the heart. And so it follows that what we learned is that for Malchut, the attribute of Malchut to receive sustenance, or panim, which is the light of Hashem's face, kamo shekatuv be'or panei melech hayim, that we receive the light of the living God, of the living King, tzarich la'alot ota el simchat regalim. You have to elevate it to the joy of the holidays. V'zeh b'chinat ma'amar b'gemara, and this is what it says in the Gemara Masechet Sukkot, chayav ha'adam lahakbin pnei rabo b'regel. A person has to go and receive their teacher in the time of the festivals. And you know, what he means here is that the teacher is the great rabbi. The great rabbi is explaining Hashem's hiddenness to us. The hiddenness is revealed through the joy of the holidays. So when Chayav Adam lekeben Panei Rabo Baregen, when we have to go greet our teacher on the holidays and the festivals, it means that we have the ability to connect with Hashem in a higher spiritual way on the holidays. Shazar can mean to weave. Maybe you're right. Rabbeinu Shazar, that's good. Okay, thank you, Yael. He weaved in 6 ideas. Okay. V'atam b'pnimiyut, and the Hasidic interpretation of this, or the internal meaning, kadei lekaben me'rabo et pchinat or panim, in order to receive from your teacher the light of his or her face, ki rak al yedei harav yachol tamid lekaben or hapanim, because it's only through having an excellent teacher can a person receive the light of Hashem. Hameir b'regalim lemalchut shelo, that shines down into a person's level of malchut during the festivals, ulechayot b'chinot malchut shelo, and to bring vitality and sustenance to the attribute of malchut that everybody has within them, meaning that we're getting this light from Hashem, it's coming into our heart, it's being expressed through the joy of the holidays. And that's malchut receiving the light of Hashem, the light from Hashem's face. Ki yikar kedushat yom tov Teloi b'tzadikim, because the main attribute of the holiness of the festivals is connected to the tzadikim, kamoshe katuv, as it's written, Eile moadei Hashem asher tikurotam b'moadam. These are the festivals of Hashem, in which you will keep them during the holidays. V'darshu gemaran, am tikrei otam ele atem. Don't read it, so it says in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, don't read it, those, but rather read it as you. Harei she'ayamim atovim tuluyim b'tzadikim, that the holidays are dependent on the tzadikim, v'kabalat o hapanim me'atzadik, and receiving the light of the face of the tzadik, shu al yadei shenoten tzedakah tzadik, comes about through giving tzedakah to the tzadik. Okay, we have just a tiny little section here, then that's it for tonight. B'zeh shekatuv, and that's what's written, tzedek lefanav ya'alech v'yasem lederech pa'amav, that righteousness will go before him, and it will make a path, it'll make a steadfast path. Tzedek, when it says tzedek, which is righteousness, malchuta kedisha, it's malchut of holiness, hamechuna tzedek, which is also called tzedek. וכשמוליכים ומעלים אותה אל אור הפנים כדי לקבל משם חיות, and when a person takes, tzedakah, and elevates it through the light of Hashem in order to receive sustenance from it, העיקר על ידי בחינת וישם לדרך פעמיו, היינו שפעמיו הם בחינת 3 פעמים בשנה. So by elevating the mitzvot, by doing an action, we're just going to translate into action, a person receives this sustenance from Hashem's light, and this is connected to that you'll make a well-trodden path. That is, pa'amav, when it says pa'amav, which is the footsteps of our feet, is connected to 3 pa'amim, 3 times in the year, v'chulei. 3 times a year, meaning the 3 festivals. She'al yadehem, that through them, al yadei regalim, mekablim me'or panim, we receive the light of Hashem through the festivals, la'ir l'malchut kanal, to draw it down into us, as mentioned above, shehi gam ken b'chinat regen, which is also connected to regen, which is the festival. V'zeh b'chinat katuv, yeshvu yesharim et panecha. The upright dwell in your face. Yesharim, the upright, haim mitzvot, they are the mitzvot. Kamoshe katuv, as it's written, pikudei Hashem yesharim esimchei lev, as we mentioned before, that when a person keeps the mitzvot of Hashem, it brings joy to their heart. Haim mitzvot sheosim otan b'simcha v'yikar makom b'simcha b'lev. What is the main place of joy? It's in the heart. And what is the joy that we're receiving? It's the joy of doing the mitzvot. והם מיישבים ומאירים ומסדרים את אור הפנים המתגלה ברגלים. And they are dwelling and shining and putting in order the light of Hashem that's revealed during the festivals. והם Halev shel Hashana, the festivals of the heart of the year, shesham mitkabetzet hasimcha shel kol mitzvah shehu oseh b'chol Hashana. There are all of the energy that we put into keeping the mitzvot. The joy is expressed during the festivals, umirim v'notnim chiyut lamalchut kanam, and it brings life and joy and vitality through Malchut, meaning what you're receiving, the receptacle for receiving Hashem's light, which comes during the holidays. Okay, Shakoach to whoever stuck around. See, Yael is still here. Anyone else? I'll tell, as has become my tradition, another story of Reb Zusha. B'ezrat Hashem. It's getting harder and harder. I've got to find a better source. So, one day Reb Zusha sees a simple farmer. He comes over to Reb Zusha, and this farmer says to Reb Zusha that he's never learned in yeshiva, and when he opens a siddur, he doesn't even understand what he's reading. It's all beyond him. And he says to Reb Zusha, Rebbe, I want to connect with Ribbono Shel Olam, but I don't know how to pray like a learned person. What am I supposed to do? You know, these days, pretty much everybody has access to something. We have Torah lessons online, we have Art Scroll, we have all kinds of translations and ways of explaining it. But in the old days, really, if you weren't a scholar, you were disconnected. So Reb Zusha, who of course his heart was filled with love for every Jew, he says to the farmer, let me tell you a story. And it's interesting because this is a story that I have about the Baal Shem Tov. There was once a shepherd who spent his days alone in the fields tending sheep, and he never learned how to pray. But he loved Hashem with his whole soul. And one day he looked up at the sky and called out, Hashem, I love you. And then he would whistle, just like he would call the sheep, thinking, if this whistle brings my sheep back to me, maybe it'll also reach Hashem. So just to expand on this, there's the story of the shepherd, the Baal Shem Tov and the Hasidim are watching, and the shepherd is trying to do everything from Hashem. He does somersaults, he plays on his flute, and in the end, he takes a coin and throws it up to Hashem. And the story of the Baal Shem Tov says the Hasidim and the Baal Shem Tov saw the hand coming down from heaven, taking the coin and bringing it up. And it was a coin that the nobleman gave or something like that. So here he says to the simple farmer, there's this shepherd and he was calling out to Hashem, and one day a learned man comes to the shepherd and says to him, how dare you whistle at Hashem? That's not how to pray. And the shepherd was heartbroken and stopped whistling altogether. But that night a heavenly voice came to the learned man in a dream and said, why did you stop the shepherd's prayer? His whistle was more beloved to me than all of the words of all of the scholars, because it came from the depth of his heart. And Reb Zusha turns to the farmer, his eyes shining with holy light, and he says, it's not about the words you say, it's about the sincerity of your heart. And if all you can do is say, God, I love you, then say it with all your heart, and that's the greatest prayer of all. May we merit to serve Hashem with such pure simplicity and love, because this is what Hashem wants, the true outpouring of our hearts, B'ezrat Hashem, with joy. So even though I'm still missing a string, I will play one last nigun, B'ezrat Hashem, and we'll continue next week. God willing, we'll be feeling better, B'ezrat Hashem. Shukach, everyone.